Right.
You know, Jake Paul's a kid that's out doing his thing. He's trying to make some money,
Right.
whatever his deal is.
Yeah, I'll fight you.
You would fight me?
Why not?
Dana White just slammed Jake and Logan Paul, calling them out for yet another desperate stunt in their ongoing quest for attention. After allegedly scamming fans with a scripted bout against a retired boxer, the Paul brothers still weren't satisfied. Now they're back at it, trying once again to fool the boxing world and pass off spectacle as sport.
I have the opposite perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad.
But Dana shuts them down with a blistering reality check, proving once and for all that their cheap publicity stunts are a stain on the sport of boxing.
Listen, he's a young kid out there trying to make some money.
But Dana shuts them down with a blistering reality check, proving once and for all, and after all this, it's hard to believe this is the same sport that gave us legends like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Sugar Ray Leonard, now being dragged down by two YouTube clowns who've officially run out of ways to scam fans. Jake Paul took to Twitter declaring, "The moment you've waited for, March 27th, stream on Max." The biggest joke since Floyd Mayweather carried Logan for 8 rounds just to collect an easy paycheck. Had their cheap publicity stunts are a stain on the sport of boxing.
Something to do with some sort of episodic thing, right? That was my first thought. This is not a fight. This is some sort of episodic or documentary style.
And now, the Paul brothers, who'd probably sell their souls for a trending hashtag, are throwing hands. Not for legacy, not for competition, but because they've run out of manufactured storylines to squeeze dry. March 27th, 2025. Live on Max. But for what? To watch two social media grifters slap each other around in a fight with all the authenticity of a WWE backstage segment? This isn't boxing. It's reality TV in gloves. A scripted drama where two millionaire brothers fake a feud just long enough to trick fans into handing over their hard-earned cash. The backlash? Brutal, and absolutely deserved, because when real fighters step into the ring, they fight for honor, legacy, and greatness. When Jake and Logan do it, they're fighting for clicks, prime sales, and the next brand deal. Never fought each other out of mutual respect, not just as brothers, but as professionals who honored the sport. The Spinks brothers? Same story, but then you've got the Paul brothers, who'd probably auction off their own mother if it meant squeezing a few more bucks from their fan base. As Chris Mannix pointed out on Twitter, social media jumped on the idea of them fighting, treating it like a legitimate event. Classic Paul strategy. Smart marketing, smoke and mirrors. It was never even officially announced as a real bout. Meanwhile, Dana White is having a field day tearing into them. And honestly, when the biggest promoter in combat sports is calling you frauds, you've officially crossed the line. From cringe to full-blown clown show. He's been calling them out for years, exposing them as hype merchants pretending to be fighters. And with this latest stunt, it looks like he's been right all along.
I'm just gonna tell you the truth, it's not. They're not boxing.
And let's not forget, Jake's got his own beef with Dana White, which just adds to the drama. Jake Paul struts around like he's some kind of boxing prodigy, but let's take a closer look at his so-called career. On paper, he's 11-1. Sounds solid, until you realize most of those wins came against retired MMA fighters with zero boxing background, social media influencers, and guys old enough to be checking their pension balances. And the one time he actually stepped in with a real boxer, Tommy Fury, he got humbled so hard he practically vanished back into YouTube mode just to distract everyone from the L. And now, instead of stepping up and facing another legitimate boxer, he's fighting his own brother. That's not strategy, that's desperation. The facade is cracking, and Jake's doing everything he can to patch it up with smoke and mirrors.
First time I ever met him, I took my son to the first boxing match. I want to say it was Wilder and Fury. And this kid rolls up on me and got like a fucking jacket on with no shirt. And he rolls up to me the first time. I didn't even know who he was. He's being a total fucking wise ass. I'm like, listen, man, I'm fucking trying to get my seat situated here. He's like, okay, you go on and keep being famous or some shit like that. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? My son told me who he was.
And then there's Logan, who's boxed fewer real opponents than he's cut WWE promos. His highlight reel, getting lightly carried through 8 rounds by a 44-year-old Floyd Mayweather, who treated the whole thing like a sparring session. Then came that glorified circus act against Dylan Dennis, which looked more like a WrestleMania trailer than an actual boxing match. Logan's 29 now, still pretending to be a fighter while juggling his WWE persona, like it's some kind of double life. And this next fight, it's happening just weeks before his scheduled WrestleMania appearance. But sure, let's keep up the charade and act like this is a serious bout, and not just another overhyped sideshow built to funnel prime hydration into everyone's feed. Here's the real kicker. It'll still pull massive numbers. Why? Because people can't look away from a train wreck. Jake's fight with Mike Tyson clocked over 60 million views, not because fans believed it was a legit contest, but because they wanted to see just how absurd things would get. And now, with two brothers who've done more to parody the sport than honor it, boxing is about to be hijacked again. It's a full-on promotional circus, and somehow, we're all invited to watch it burn.
Everybody.
Me?
Yeah, I'll fight you.
You would fight me?
Why not? You're tiny.
I'm taller than you.
You're still tiny. It would suck to be the one that has to deal with, losing, but I wouldn't be the one that would have to deal
I have
with
the
that,
opposite
so.
perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad.
Dana White has been sounding the alarm for years. These guys aren't fighters. They're opportunists. They've turned boxing into their personal ATM, cherry-picking opponents and spinning flashy narratives just to sell glorified circus acts. And now, with this absurd matchup, they've once again proven him right. This is exactly what happens when you let YouTubers invade combat sports. The whole thing turns into a meme, stripped of legitimacy and packaged for clicks instead of competition.
Is completely different than what him and his brother are doing. You know what I mean? I'm looking for the absolute best in the world. These guys who have trained their whole life, they fight in these smaller shows and then they make it to the UFC, and we've put the best against the best. It's just not what we do. There's a market for what these guys do. And
let's not forget one of Dana White's most savage mic drop moments, when he publicly challenged Jake Paul to a real UFC fight against Amanda Nunes. It wasn't just a jab. It was Dana's way of saying, if you're really about that, fight life. Step into the cage with someone who actually knows how to fight. Jake's response? Silence. Because deep down, he knows the truth. He's not here for real competition. He's here to handpick opponents, control the storyline, and make sure every fight is scripted in his favor. For years, the Paul brothers have positioned themselves as the self-appointed champions of UFC fighter pay, constantly taking shots at Dana and pointing out that MMA athletes get just 20% of total revenue, while NBA players get 45-50%. Oh, how noble of them. But here's the hypocrisy. While they claim to stand up for underpaid fighters, they're out here cashing in more than the entire UFC roster combined by staging celebrity boxing matches against opponents they know they can beat. It's not about fairness or fighter rights. It's about profit, plain and simple.
Like if I wanted to do a UFC fight, is that something you'd entertain?
who would you want to fight?
Don't know.
You have wrestling and boxing.
I could get it done.
Do you ever do jiu-jitsu?
Of course.
Yeah.
I could get it done, Dana.
I'm not saying no.
Dana, sign me.
I'm not saying no.
Let's cut through the noise. Jake and Logan Paul don't care about fighter pay. They care about their pay. Every time they speak up about how UFC fighters deserve better contracts, it's not about advocacy. It's just another cheap shot at Dana White to keep their names trending. And the irony? They're guilty of the exact thing they accuse Dana of. They're not here to compete. They're not here to test themselves against the best. They're here to game the system, cherry-pick opponents, and cash in on a fan base too distracted by the spectacle to see the scam. Dana White has ripped them apart for it, and rightfully so. Every time Jake whines about fighter pay, Dana just laughs. Why? Because the Paul brothers are living proof that you don't need to be a real fighter to make millions. You just need to be a shameless, money-hungry showman. They've done nothing of substance in combat sports, yet somehow they've built an empire off smoke, mirrors, and marketing. And millions of people are still buying into the gimmick. It's not just absurd, it's pathetic.
In the NBA, they're guaranteed a certain amount of money.
Yeah,
they still get paid. In the UFC, there's no guarantee you have to go in there and fight to get paid.
Oh my God.
And you take all the risk.
It's ruthless, dude.
Poster would have Logan versus Jake. No venue, no anything, right? There's no announcement of an actual fight. On top of that, Jake...
Get ready for the most scripted trash talk you've ever seen. Childhood grudges will magically resurface, personal insults will fly, and the acting will be so over the top. Even skeptics might start to believe the drama is real. Spoiler alert, it's not. The second the fight ends, Jake and Logan will be backstage, laughing it up, counting their millions while their fans argue online about who really won. And as for the fight itself, if you can even call it that, don't expect a real boxing match. This will be a choreographed spectacle, built for views, not victory. There will be no technique, no strategy, no test of skill, just two influencers playing dress-up in a boxing ring, selling pay-per-views, and fooling the world into thinking it's sport, because that's what they are, entertainers, not athletes. They're not stepping into the ring to prove anything except how well they can sell a fantasy. And the saddest part? It's working. People will tune in. Not because they believe in Jake or Logan as fighters, but because they can't look away from the train wreck. They'll watch just to see how far the circus goes this time, just to witness what could be the final nail in boxing's credibility. And when it's all over, when Jake and Logan are in the ring shaking hands, splitting, a 9-figure payday, Dana White will be somewhere shaking his head. knowing he was right all along. The biggest joke in boxing isn't Jake versus Logan Paul. It's the fact that people are still falling for it. If you're tired of watching frauds tear down a sport built on blood, sweat, and legacy, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's expose this circus for what it really is.